All right, guys, good morning. I'm Ryan here with ISCN. I'm going to go live here and do a briefing here for the upcoming severe event today and talk about timeframes, expectations, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and dive right on into the forecast here. Make sure you guys can hear me. Give me a thumbs up in chat if you guys can hear me okay. I had some audio issues this morning on the Michigan side of things. So make sure everything's good squared away here on the Indiana side before we get going. So give me a thumbs up in chat, please, if you guys can hear me. Thank you, Tommy. All right, let's go ahead and get started, guys. All right, so go ahead and start. Take this full screen for you guys. Walk you through this nice and easy. So doesn't matter where you are at in the state of Indiana today, you are in an enhanced risk for severe weather. This is going to extend all the way up into Michigan, into the central part of Ohio, down through the Gulf Coast areas. The entire state of Indiana, though, is within that orange shaded area. So level 3 out of a scale of 5. Now let's talk about hazards. What are we talking about? Highest to lowest priority here, starting with the wind. Again, the entire state, minus the exception of that very small sliver by Gary, is in a 45 to 59% probability of damaging wind. Basically the entire state. That is a pretty high risk in place today. All right. So wind is your primary concern. Let's go to hail. Hail is also a concern, some of which could be perhaps significant, larger than golf ball size in diameter. That's for the red hatched area there across western parts of central Indiana. But outside that red area, we are in a yellow area, which is a 15 to 29% probability. So it's a pretty good probability of large hail that does extend all the way up into Michigan, western Ohio, back down through the Gulf Coast area as well. Okay, the tornado risk today is going to be a 5% risk across much of the state. But if you live in Bloomington or points southward, the SPC has included a 10%, and it's also hatched, which means higher probability for one, but also potential for perhaps strong tornadoes, EF2 or higher type tornadoes across that yellow area. Okay. Doesn't matter where you're at in the state, then today is a risk for all hazards possible. Tornadoes, wind, and hail across the entire state. Let's go ahead and break it down for time frames. Starting with the model here. This model image is 3 p.m. today. This is what the radar should or perhaps could look like. Notice we have storms pushing and firing off into the southwest part of Indiana. Let's go to 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central. I'm talking Eastern time. So when I say 4 p.m., I just automatically assume Eastern. Here is 4 p.m. We're seeing two things I want to point out here. We're seeing, number one, a nasty looking line, two lines actually, one up here on Lake Michigan, one back down through Gary, through Lafayette area, pushing east-northeastward here. And then the second thing I'm going to talk about is all these cells that are firing out ahead of those lines are by themselves or isolated in nature. Those are going to be a concern for tornadic development. All right. So those are going to have your highest hail risk, your highest tornadic risk as well. Anything line segment wise will be a higher wind risk. All right. 4 p.m. here. Here is 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. By about 10 tonight, these storms should be pushing out of the state, but do keep in mind we have a couple rounds possible here for the state. So perhaps 2-3 rounds for people. Other people may get 1 round. Overall risk today is quite concerning. Again, damaging wind, your primary concern. Would not rule out large hail as well as multiple tornadoes across the state. So again, your risk areas, the entire state falls within that level 3 category. It's an enhanced risk from the SPC. Main risk is going to be wind across the entire state, followed by hail, some of which could be significant in the western part of the state there in the red zone. And then tornadoes, a possibility across the entire state as well. Highest risk in the southern part of the state, also potential for a strong tornado or 2. That is your outlook today. Main time frame starting right around the 2 to 3 p.m. time frame. Back it up here. Here is 2 p.m. Eastern. 3 p.m. they are moved into the state. So between 2 and 3 p.m. you expect these storms to fire up. I expect severe weather between 3 and 4 o'clock at the very latest. I would expect there to be numerous watches and warnings issued today. Speaking of watches and warnings, make sure you guys have ways to receive warnings, whether that's via your phone, an app, weather radio, local news, or us here at ISCN. We will be live in the event of any severe or tornadic warnings in the state. Caleb has you covered later on this afternoon and evening. But with that being said, I'll take some questions. I'm going to pop out of here and get back to work. Looking forward to live coverage. Yep, we are here for it. Caleb's got you covered on the Indiana side. If you guys are from Michigan, Joel and Nick have you covered on the Michigan side of things. So all hands on deck today. I do not see any questions rolling in here. So I may go ahead and pop out of here, keep it nice and brief, nice and short. Again, the entire state at risk today for all hazards. Wind is primary concern, hail is a secondary concern, then tornadoes is a third concern. All hazards possible between 2 p.m., clearing the state by about 10 or 11 o'clock tonight. So be unaware. Make sure you guys have warnings, ways to receive those. Would expect there to be watches and such issued in the next hour or two from the SPCs. So with that being said, we got you guys covered. Stay tuned, and we will keep you guys informed throughout the day today. Stay safe. We'll catch you guys this afternoon.